right, Christmas time is pagan.
Isn't it just?
So
Am I allowed to relate to the little story about the one fellow who came along
in a
to your
bit.
class? All right.
Could you in a bit?
Yes, in a bit.
All right.
In a bit.
And then
Shut up.
I'll give you these papers, and you can talk about what you want to talk about, and I'll interject. Okay? Because this is kind of in a nice order. All right. So what I'd like to say
People,
is
it's
Christmas
only
time is
the depth
pagan.
that varies. I'm
All
always
right.
in it. Go on.
Who is Mithras?
Well, there's a myth for you.
Santa. Santa the shaman? Or Satan? Santa?
Well, if you misspell it.
And what about those three astrologers? Gaspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. All right. So what we should start with first...
I'm glad you know their names, because I don't.
I do.
Well done, you.
There's a lot of Bible references in here for sure. All right. But let us first look to nature.
Nature is good.
What does the word solstice mean?
Well, we take about the word sol. Sol means sun, solar, where we get from. So sol is our sun, it's our star, we orbit around it. And stis is a contraction of stasis, meaning
Or
to
station,
stand still,
right? Yeah.
which is where we get station from, stationary, So solstice is where we become, the sun stands still, effectively.
It appears not to move along when it's rising on the horizon.
For a period of 3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
All right. So, then what happens?
Then we see it move.
And then, so if the time of 0 degrees Capricorn denotes the winter solstice, and that can be around the 21st or the 22nd, most likely.
Guess when you're going to see the sun
Then
move.
the sun would start to move again on the 25th.
What a great idea for a Mass for Christ.
Okay, so here we have,
Mm.
isn't it interesting that people believe if they tell you lies long enough, the lies will become your truth.
Really?
Keep in mind that Christmas as we know it nowadays, with Santa and all the trimmings, was only declared a holiday in the United States in 1870.
Wow. No shit. Really?
Queen Victoria's husband, Albert, was German. And he introduced the Tannenbaum, the Christmas tree, to the palace in 1848. Here are a few interesting facts that I've quoted from many articles over the history that are fascinating. So you wanted to talk about a gentleman that came to this class the last time I taught it.
It is true. We know this. We teach the craft of the wise enough to know that conditioned beliefs, especially something that, your parents and your parents' parents have told you your entire life, and you've lived this entire life, and this has become your reality. When that bubble gets burst, when you realize that what you've actually been told is not entirely accurate, sometimes it can be really bloody hard to let go of that core belief. And I know Lisa taught this class originally as like a 2-hour kind of workshop as into the origins of Christmas and where it came from, because spoiler alert, it's as pagan as it comes, okay? I mean, and Christianity is a sun cult, but we'll move more into that in a moment. It's a shock, and we had this one poor guy who just lost it completely and just couldn't take any more and just ran out screaming.
And he just couldn't cope.
He just ran out screaming, pretty much, like, what have I turned into?
Right. So although the whole world celebrates Christmas as a Christian holiday, and it includes millions of non-Christians as well, but is Christmas really Christian at all? I mean, Christ himself wasn't Christian.
Nowhere in the Bible does it say he was born on Christmas either.
Let's look high and low through the pages of the Bible and see if we can find one word about Christmas being celebrated by any one of Jehovah's people. What does it say?
I don't know. It's a new viewer, so thank you. Welcome, new
Core
viewer.
belief work is
Look
what?
out on the what we don't know, but you're looking out on it. The core belief is what I've been working on, asking, where has this belief led me to? Self-abandonment? Well, don't abandon yourself,
I
my
think
friend.
we
That's not
all
wise.
we all have a core belief system that we're raised with.
We do.
Right? Like some people are raised agnostic,
Some
and
are.
they still don't know, how to accept myth as faith. And other people are raised in other faiths, and then the more they go digging, they find out that faith is the only thing that really is the truth about those myths. Like,
The faith
understand that we're coming from a place where we speak about Christ as the Christ myth. It is a valid mythology, but we want to see, where did that myth come from?
Let me just also add, Christ per se now does exist simply because it
Absolutely.
become a valid thought form. There's that many people believe in this deity's existence that ergo it must exist.
Well, the spirit of Santa Claus certainly exists.
Doesn't it?
Whether he was a shaman who came down
Doesn't
a
it?
chimney, or whether he was an energy that awakened the Shashumna at the turning of the light. Shashumna means chimney. Anyway,
Interesting.
all right. So,
Anyway, pray continue.
is there anything about Christmas in the Bible? Is there anything about the Messiah or his apostles observing this holiday? Even in the New Testament? I think
Not.
Christian is to have mercy and grace towards others and keep a clean heart.
To feel his love is Christ. Well, we're not going to poo-poo anybody's belief.
We're just
Your
reporting on
truth
what
is
we
your
found.
truth, and this is totally fine. And I wish, Jessica, an awful lot more so-called Christians actually had that mindset, because
We're never going to get
Take-
off page one.
taking care of the poor, looking after other people, no, doesn't seem to work with a lot of militant Christians right now. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Please continue.
Yet on the other hand, the pagan heathen world observed this day for thousands of years. Before the Messiah was born. But was he born on December 25th?
Well, no.
Where did these mysterious rites and ceremonies that surround this day come from? What about the Christmas tree? Or the Yule log? Or mistletoe and holly?
Interesting.
Are any of these customs truly Christian in origin? And what about that fat, jolly Saint Nick guy?
Who gets stuck in the chimney?
It's high time we address these questions and took a look at Christmas. A church that I was formerly a member of, which condemned Christmas observances as paganism, this is a quote from an article, for almost 60 years, today has turned its back on its former beliefs and encourages its member to observe this pagan midwinter festival in honor of Christ. Many are doing so, needless of this severe warning in Scripture of what their eternal fate and destiny would be if they embraced this ancient custom. So this was a quote from an article. Now, in the beginning of the Bible it says, "Thou shalt have no gods before me."
It doesn't indicate there may be other
It
gods.
does kind of tell us there might
A
be
little bit of a
others.
giveaway
All right.
there.
Is it
Giveaway.
wrong to celebrate Christmas then? What is the truth about this holiday?
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but in Scotland, the reason they celebrate Hogmanay is Christmas was actually banned. The Presbyterians really didn't
So
go
they
for
have the
Christmas. It was
Hogfather.
pagans, so they went for Hogmanay,
which is like a Santa sort of
Ah,
thing.
It's getting interesting.
It's more
but
like
more on
Wotan or
that.
Woden or...
More on
yeah.
that later,
All right.
perhaps.
The origins of Christmas. Before one gets carried away with Christmas worshipping, there are a few things we should know. Let's take an honest and objective look at the holiday. We read in Werner Keller's book, The Bible as History, the following admission. December 25th is referred to in documents as Christmas Day for the first time in 324 AD. Under the Roman Emperor
Justinian.
it was recognized as an official holiday. An old Roman festival played a major part in the choice of this particular day. Well, because the Romans tried to assimilate like the Borg, right? So
Yeah,
they're like,
they?
okay, what's your belief? Well, we got this and we can blend them. All right. December 25th in ancient Rome was Dies Natali Invictus, the birthday of the unconquered Sol Invictus, the sun. The day of the winter solstice. At the same time in Rome, the last day of Saturnalia. All right, so now we know Saturn is the planet of karma and restriction, and there was this big festival that the nobility and the slaves
Switch places, so to speak,
and it
so
was
to
just
speak.
this kind of chaotic time of
The Lord of Misrule.
yeah.
And just as an aside, even today, certainly speaking from personal experience in the British forces, and I think also in America too, but correct me if I'm wrong, on Christmas Day the officers serve the enlisted men. That is custom. That if you are unfortunate enough not to have got leave for that particular time of year, then you will find the officers actually serving you dinner and generally looking after you for the day.
All right. So in
Is it-
Rome, it was the last day of Saturnalia, which was kind of this crazy week of carnival energy.
Just misrule.
But doesn't it seem rather strange that this so-called Christian church should choose a day to celebrate the Messiah's birth, which had already been identified as the birth of the unconquered S-U-N, the day of the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, when the sun-lit part of the day started to become longer. What does this have to do with this Messiah? Was Yeshua, Jehovah, the Messiah, born anywhere near December 25th?
We think not.
Keller goes on. Meteorologists, as well as historians and astronomers, have something of importance to contribute to the question of fixing the date of the birth of Jesus. According to St. Luke, and there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. Luke 2:8.
Doesn't really seem like midwinter to you, does that?
Meteorologists have made exact recordings of the temperatures at Hebron, the spot in the southern highlands of Judah, and it exhibits the same climate conditions as Bethlehem, which is not far in distance. The temperature readings show over a period of 3 months that the incidence of frost is as follows: December 2.8 degrees, January 1.6 degrees, and February 0.1 degrees. Now these must be in centigrade.
Yeah.
The first 2 months have also the greatest rainfall in the year, approximately 6 inches in December, 8 inches in January. According to all existing information, the climate of Palestine has not changed for the last 2,000 years. Consequently, modern meteorological observations can be taken as a basis. At Christmas time, Bethlehem is in the grip of frost, and in the Promised Land, no cattle would have been in a field at that low temperature. The fact is borne out by a remark in the Talmud to the effect that in that neighborhood the flocks were put out to grass in March. late February, March.
Lamb of
Pisces, Lamb of God.
Mm.
And then brought in again in the beginning of November. They remained out in the open for almost 8 months. Around Christmas time nowadays, both animals and shepherds would be undercover in Palestine. I don't want to talk about the horrors there. What St. Luke tells us points therefore to the birth of Jesus having taken place either before the onset of winter
Or after.
or he's a Pisces, which, since he's dubbed the fisherman of man, Pisces would make more sense astrologically. But anyway, how interesting, how fascinating. As we explore the time for the birth of the Messiah, we find he was born nowhere near December 25th, the very date the world has chosen to celebrate his supposed birthday. But remember, they don't call it that in the beginning. They declare it a mass for Christ.
Well, it still
They
is.
don't say that it's
Mass.
Jesus' birthday. That came later. But there's much to this story. When was Yeshua, the Messiah, really born? Millions of Christians, or people who think they are followers of the religion of the Messiah, have been deceived. Who is this? The original Old Christmas is the Epiphany on January 6th. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the original old Christmas is Epiphany, January 6th, Little Christmas, as it's known, yeah, to be honest, which is an
Solstice
old Baptist, now Amish and Mennonite, still to this day in old orders observed. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There's
You're
more
not
stuff
wrong.
here. Solstice
So
and
Yule,
Yule.
there were times celebrated as Holy Week. It's always been a celebration, even in ancient Rome, when they celebrated Saturnalia. Very festive time too. Which is what we're talking about right now, Juniper. Tell your friends. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
So you got to the hiss. Millions of ostensible Christians, or nominal Christians,
Who think they are the followers of the religion of the Messiah have been deceived. Not only have they foolishly embraced the erroneous tradition as if it were actually a Christian tradition, but they've been lied to, misled by preachers and ministers and priests, and they have all assumed that they were worshiping Jesus. Yet the Messiah himself warned, "Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men."
which is Mark 7,
7,
8, if you really want to know. There are some Bible quotes here.
The Gospel
you're
of
into that.
Matthew also records similar words spoken by the Messiah. Notice, "Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, The people draweth nigh unto me with their mouths, and honoureth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching of doctrines of the commandments of men."
Which is Matthew 15, 7 to 9. So, it should be on page 4 now. Where is it?
5.
5 even. Okay.
Let's look into this matter a little more honestly, and let's examine the evidence while we seek the truth. When was the Messiah born? Was it anywhere near December 25th? And if not, then why believe a lie? Why practice or perform this lie? The birth of the Messiah is not known for certain, but we can know the approximate time of year when he was born. In the book of Luke, we read that the father of John the Baptist was Zacharias, and he was the priest who served at the temple in Jerusalem. He was of the course of Arabia, Luke 1:5. While serving at the temple, he was informed by an angel that his wife was to have a son, who was to be named John. After this, Zachariah finished the days of his ministration and departed to his own house. After those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived. The names of the different courses of priests that served at the temple are given in Chronicles 24, 1 through 19. Abia, or Abijah, was the 8th course. According to the Jewish historian Josephus,
however you pronounce it.
Each one of these courses served at the temple for 1 week. The first course serving the first week of Nisan. In the spring, compare Chronicles 27. And then each course is giving its own order. All the priests served during the annual festivities of Passover in spring, the Pentecost, and the Tabernacles in the fall. After 6 months, the order would be repeated. Thus, each course would serve 2 weeks during a year. The course of Abijah, then, would have served the 8th week in rotation, the 8th week from Nisan 1. Leaving out the week of Passover when the priests served, we would be near the day before the Pentecost, which is near Easter. Pentecostal Easter, right? So therefore,
I think you missed the bit where it's pretty close to March 6, wasn't it? Sivan 6. It's from, this is the Hebrew calendar, and I'm not good at that. Iyar 27 to Sivan 5, the day just before Pentecost, which generally fell on Sivan 6. After serving a week in the temple, Zacharias would have remained another week in Jerusalem because of the feast of Shabbat or Pentecost that week. Continue.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Therefore, he returned home shortly after this, and his wife then conceived. This would have been about the middle of June, believe it or not. If we add 9 months to this date, the nominal time for the gestation of a human baby in the womb, John the Baptist would have been born about the middle of March. March in spring, shortly before the Passover. So, Yeshua, or Yeshua, Jehovah,
Messiah,
however you want to call it, was conceived about 6 months later after John, according to Luke 1:24 to 34, especially cited in verse 26. It would suggest that Yeshua the Messiah was conceived about the middle of December. This would place his birth 9 months, or 270 days later, in the month of September.
Virgo the Virgin, maybe? Giving birth to the...
So who exactly was born on December 25th?
The Sun, S-U-N.
If the Messiah was not born on December 25th, then who was? In other words, whose birthday is the whole Christian world really celebrating December 25th? Though they would call it the birth of Christ, or put it another way, what Christ are they talking about? The word Christ, remember, is merely the translation of the Greek word Christos, which means anointed one. It comes from the Hebrew word Moshiach or Moshiach, from whence we get the word Messiah. So what anointed one was actually born on December 25th? So if we, as sleuths, take out our magnifying glass and look a little deeper,
look again,
do some detective work, Sherlock Holmes styley, see if we can actually solve the mystery. The puzzle of why the whole world observes the birthday of Yeshua the Messiah on the day on which he was not even remotely born, in the book of History of Rome by Michael Grant, we read this startling revelation. So, let's...
You're there.
No, I'm not. Should be on 7.
Okay.
Yet there was also another...
You can't have it all. You have to have it where I can see it too.
6 to 7.
No, I'm just saying you cannot take all of the papers.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm not trying to be difficult.
I can take these away.
Take them away. Take them away.
But you have to share this.
All right. There was also another pagan belief during this same epoch that much more neatly competed with Christ for the control of the Western world. This was indeed the cult of the sun.
The S-U-N.
Yes, which was revered by millions of the inhabitants of the Roman Empire and its religion for a time, and even became state-sponsored worship, if you will. In Rome, the divinity of the sun came very early on, and then, centuries afterwards, in the superb dome of Hadrian's Pantheon, The central opening, surrounded by starlight rosettes, represented the solar orb. Before long, the Emperor Aurelian established a massive temple of the unconquerable sun,
Sol Invictus,
as the central and focal point of the entire religious system of the state. This would have been 274 AD. The birthday of the god was to be on December 25th, and this was transformed into Christmas Day as one of the heritages that Christianity owed to his cult. And you're going to find that on pages 391 to 392
in the History of Rome
book
by Michael Grant
that we speak of. Notice Christianity took over the birthday of the sun god, the cult of the sun, and transformed it into Christmas Day, the birthday of Yeshua, or Yeshua, the Messiah. It was in reality the birthday of the pagan sun god worshipped by millions throughout the Roman Empire. We can read more about this novel and profound plot to turn paganism into Christianity in a book by historian Jack Finnegan, Myth and Mystery, an introduction to the pagan religions of the biblical world, in which Finnegan writes, "But the worship of the sun god continued widely throughout the empire, and under Aurelian, AD 270 to 275, the cult was restored to its former high estate. In the year 274, Aurelian declared the god, now called Deus Sol Invictus, the official deity of the Roman Empire, and he built a splendid temple of the sun in Rome, and set the sun's birthday celebration, Naturalis Solis Invicti, or Natalis, if I can say that, the birthday of the invincible
right, because
sun.
now this is the day the sun moves, and
On
we
this-
recognize that the light is returning and the sun has not given up for dead.
The date then accepted for the winter solstice. Summoning solar character, the birthday of Mithras. At the time of Constantine, the cult of Deus Sol Invictus was still at its height, and the portrait of the sun god was on the coins of Constantine. Likewise, it must have been in this time with the intent to transform the significance of an existing sacred date, that the birthday of Jesus, the Messiah, which had been celebrated in the East on January 6, as somebody rightly pointed out earlier, was
The
placed.
coin.
Yes.
They've put the sun god on a gold disc.
Well, there's a surprise.
Okay.
I wonder why you would do such a thing as that.
Sorry.
Was placed on Rome on December 25th, the date of the birthday of the celebration of Sol Invictus. This date appears in the list of dates, probably compiled in AD 336 and published in the Roman city calendar. And we could recommend a book by
Marion Pierce
Marion Pierce. Thank you for that. Marion Pierce, who
was on our podcast not too
was
long
on
ago.
our podcast about a year ago, actually enough, talking about the Roman calendar.
Okay.
Anyway, so for the year 351, Finnegan on pages 211 to 212 emphasises, are we beginning to get the picture? This was in the 4th century after the Messiah, 400 years, bear in mind, or 300 years plus. Excuse me, is that yours?
Yeah, I'll give you a fresh. I've
I've
got a fresh one right
Thank
here.
you so much. My nose is just... the heater just went off, and of course now my nose has started to run. The joy of being plus 60.
I know.
All right. So, the date of the birthday celebration of Sol Invictus. This date appears in a list of dates probably compiled in AD 336 and published in the Roman city calendar, as we said. So, we're beginning to get the picture. The 4th century after the birth of Messiah. At this time, the church moved to incorporate the birthday of the sun god into the so-called Christian calendar and converted his birthday into the birthday of the Messiah himself. That at which was distinctly and definitely now pagan was now baptized, and by some act of magic was transformed into something Christian. At least to the observer, it appeared to be Christian, and it was now called Christian. But in truth, it still had a pagan heart and core. So let's talk about the influence of Constantine. When Constantine became Emperor of Rome, he nominally at least became Christian. But being the head of a far-flung political empire, he was concerned about the unity and coherence and stability of his empire. And as a sagacious politician, he sought to reconcile and blend and mesh pagan practices with Christian beliefs to merge paganism with the Roman Church. Constantine promulgated the Edict of Toleration in AD 313. These things are real. He became emperor in AD 323, and then Christianity was enthroned. Jesse Lyman Hurlbut in The Story of the Christian Church on page 74. From this time for the next 200 years, all persecutions of Christians of the Roman Church and its adherents ceased. The sword of persecution was not merely sheathed, it was buried. There's a thought for you. But Jesse Hurlbut laments the results of Constantine's making Christianity the state religion, free from all persecution. From that time, he points out, the church became totally subverted by politics and self-seeking opportunists. No change there then. The establishment of Christianity as the state religion became a curse. Everybody sought membership of the church, and nearly everybody was received, both good and bad. Sincere seekers after God and hypocritical seekers after gain rushed into communion. Ambitious, worldly, unscrupulous men sought office in the church for social and political influence.
Don't say.
No change there then. Okay. The services of worship increased in splendour, but were less spiritual and hearty than those of the former times. The forms and ceremonies of paganism gradually crept into worship.
Because the sun will rise, just like the god sun will rise.
Some of the old heathen feasts became church festivals within the change of name and worship.
Well, we have to have Groundhog Day.
Well,
or St. Bridget's Day.
So how did it happen? Well, obviously something strange and weird was going on, don't you know? So Will Durant, who is a renowned historian in his massive work, The Story of Civilization,
Volume 3,
which runs into a number of hefty tomes, wrote in Volume 3, entitled Caesar and Christ, that in the new church that developed in the Roman Empire, the Jewishness of Yeshua was lost or rejected and replaced with Greek philosophy and thought. The law of the Jews was rejected, and he writes, the God Christ was assimilated to the religious and philosophical traditions of the Hellenistic mind. Now the pagan world, even the anti-Semitic world, could accept him as its own. Christianity did not destroy paganism, it merely adopted it. In the Greek mind, dying came to a transmigrated life in the theology and liturgy of the church. Excuse me. The Greek mysteries passed down into the impressive mystery of the Mass. Other pagan cultures contributed to its syncretic result. From Egypt came the idea of a divine trinity. From Egypt the adoration of the mother and the child. From Phrygia came the worship of the Great Mother. The Mithraic ritual so closely resembled the Eucharistic sacrifice of the Mass that Christian fathers charged the devil with inventing these similarities to mislead frail minds. Christianity was the last great creation of the ancient pagan world, and that's from page 599 in that book that we've read, The Story of Civilization. These historical observations ought to make us sit up and take notice that Christianity that we see around us in the world today is but a spin-off of this ancient syncretism or blending and merging of paganism into a professed church of Yeshua, the Messiah, which had lapsed into political apostasy, profligacy and impurity. The descendants of the one chaste and pure virgin of the Messiah, the New Testament church,
the September birth,
had seemingly become, for all intents and purposes, the religious whore of Babylon, a bejewelled and bedecked and bedeviled slut and trollop, a shady lady, a spiritual prostitute, if you will.
Oh my gosh.
Paganism was not defeated by the church. You can see why your bloke ran out at this point.
Oh yeah, no, he was free.
Paganism was not defeated by the church. It invaded the church, infiltrated it and seduced it from within. The professing Christian church became the new face of paganism. Only the names were changed to protect the guilty, I think you'll find. And in some cases, as in Easter Sunday, even the old pagan names were left in place. Easter, Astara.
Eostra, estrogen.
H.G. Wells, you've heard of him, in his Outline of History, discusses the transformations of the teaching of the Messiah into the pagan worship of the heathen, calling itself Christian. He notes, the observance of the Jewish Sabbath again transferred to the Mithraic sun day, that's S-U-N, as in Sunday, which is in our calendar, is an important feature of many Christian cults. He, Jesus that is, did not say a word about the worship of his mother Mary in the guise of Isis, the Queen of Heaven. Much that is most characteristically Christian, so-called, in worship and usage, he ignored. Skeptical writers, did you want to?
I just want to say something.
Go for it.
I want us to think back about the astrology that I talked about today, saying that the galactic center is the pinpoint of the new moon in Sagittarius, which hangs on the Milky Way where the throne of Isis sits, Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia, the breasts of heaven.
We are at not just the turning of the wheel for this solstice. We have this new moon at the galactic center with the alchemy of Mars and Venus.
I love it. I love what Anna wrote. She said, I read every one of those damn books in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Anna, but it's necessary if you're going to educate yourself.
Okay.
All right. So, skeptical writers have had the temerity to deny that Jesus can be called a Christian at all, which is actually, of course, in page 445 of that same book. Anyway, how did it happen? How did it happen? How did Mithraism, with its December 25th worship and Sunday worship, contribute these prominent holidays to the established Christian church? How did paganism overtake, overcome and subdue the original teachings of the Church of Yeshua, the Messiah, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, which I'm
Yeshua?
Yeshua? Sorry.
But just call him the Messiah, that's
okay.
fine.
And his apostles, and replace biblical holy days with pagan holy days. Should all true Christians be concerned about this historic truth?
This is where I lost the guy.
Oh dear. This reality? Does it really matter?
You need one page?
I need 12. I need 12. All right. What should these facts mean to us today who seek to obey Jehovah God and follow the Messiah of the Bible, who seek to be true followers of the word Jehovah God or Jehovah? The seduction of the church.
Ooh.
So, amidst the World Book Encyclopedia, the exact date of Christ's birth is not known. The early Christians did not celebrate his birth because they considered the celebration of anyone's birth to be a pagan custom, something which I think is still followed on by Jehovah's Witnesses to this very day.
Yeah.
One does not celebrate birthdays, which is kind of strange.
It's a pagan celebration.
Pagan, see, birthday, being born, your solar return.
Your solar return.
Your solar return.
All right. The first mention of the observance of Christ's birthday appears about AD 200.
Yeah. And for many years, several dates were used. And December 25th was first mentioned in 336 article Christmas. The Common Reference work acknowledges for many years people observed Christmas as a religious festival only, but they gradually adopted more and more customs unrelated to the church. Most of the customs originated in cultures that existed before Christianity. For example, in 1643, the Puritans, who regarded such celebrations as pagan, remember them? They're the people who came over on the Mayflower.
Kill the witches, we want their property.
Yeah, outlawed the observance of Christmas in England. Colonists in New England followed the English laws and also outlawed Christmas. But immigrants to the New World brought Christmas customs from many lands, and the old festivities were soon restored. All of the popular customs and traditions surrounding Christmas actually were celebrated at pagan midwinter festivals
Oh.
many thousands of years before the pagan Messiah was born. Before the Messiah, not the pagan Messiah. The Messiah was born.
Yeah.
Admits this same encyclopedia, the custom of burning the Yule log began with the ancient Scandinavians, well, that's Yule, who once a year burned a huge log in honour of their god Thor. After the Scandinavians became Christians, so to speak, not all of them are, I have to add, they made the Yule log an important part of their Christmas celebration.
Well, we got to get converts, man.
Yeah, we do celebrate Yuletide, do we not?
Yeah, well, I like to call it Wintertide.
So what about the Christmas tree? Haha, where did that from? Oh, Tannenbaum.
What does this big furry tree that stays green have to do with Jesus?
Good question. Didn't have a lot of pines, if I recall, in the Middle East either. Cyprus maybe, but pines no. And Anna, thank you so much for the super chat. We've still got 6 more to go, guys, if you can manage it.
We're going to be here a while, because we're only on page 12 of 30.
Yeah, anyway. So, one of the most pervasive customs of Christmas today is the bringing home and decorating of a Christmas tree. In fact, some people still only do it on Christmas Eve. Don't know why, but whatever. We stick ours up for our tree for a long time. Yeah. We love it.
We turn the lights white by in bulk.
Yeah, we make it the in bulk tree and all that kind of stuff.
After the
coming back of the light,
New Year,
you know?
hen gallon, then we turn it white until anyway.
So where did this custom come from?
The Christmas tree.
Coffin, in the book Christmas Folklore, tells us, unfortunate name for a guy, coffin, but there you go. Most people have heard that the Christmas tree originates in the Tannenbaum, which in some part, some sort of vestige of Teutonic vegetation worship. This is partially true. However, the custom of using pine and other evergreens ceremonially was well established at the Roman Saturnalia, even earlier in Egypt. There's a guy called Alexander Hislop, in his book The Two Babylons, wrote, the Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in pagan Rome and pagan Egypt. In Egypt, that tree was the palm tree.
Palm Sunday?
Palm tree.
Sunday?
In Rome, it was a fir, because obviously Italy did have firs. The palm tree denoting the pagan Messiah as Baal Tamar, the fir referring to him as Baal Berith, the mother of Adonis, the sun god and great mediatorial divinity.
He's
Adonis,
gorgeous.
he's Greek.
Adonis.
Well, he's kind of good looking guy.
Anyway.
Mother Adonis, the sun god, and great mediatorial or mediatorial divinity, was mystically said to be changed into a tree, and when in that state to have brought forth her divine son. If the mother was a tree, the son must have been recognized as the man of the branch. This entirely accounts for the putting of the Yule log into the fire on Christmas Eve and the appearance of the Christmas tree the next morning. Some customs do that.
Trees and gods, I don't know.
Tree worship was very common among the ancients, says festivals, holy days and saints' days. The Christmas tree recapitulates the idea of the tree worship. Gilded nuts and balls. Got that, Sean? Gilded nuts and balls, mate. Symbolising the sun. All the festivities of the heathen winter solstice have been absorbed into Christmas Day. The use of holly and mistletoe to the druidic ceremonies. The Christmas tree to the honours paid to Odin's sacred fir. Collins goes on to write in Christmas Folklore, the idea of decorating homes on holidays is both worldwide and age-old. So is the Saturnalian laurel, the Teutonic holly, the Celtic mistletoe, and the Mexican poinsettia have all attached themselves to this polyglot ceremony, which means embracing many languages. So there you go. What's that? Goal ends 16 minutes. That if you knew and won a tarot card. So yuck. Well, if you could throw us a super chat, that would be fantastic. If you could just manage that. There's only 6 more to go. If you'd like a tarot card,
I don't know. A lot of
throw it
people
in
have
there.
already.
I know some people have. All right, so where are we?
Right here. Many of the plants.
Many of the plants used at Christmas are symbols of fertility.
Fertility.
Fertility, certainly any evergreen, fir, yew, laurel, etc., with its ability to return verdure in the barren months, is appropriate. But by far the most interesting are the holly, the ivy, and the mistletoe. Holly, with its prickling leaves, white flowers, and red berries, symbolises the male reproductive urge. In fact, in English carols, holly is the male and the ivy is the female. Ha ha! This use of the plants was most likely borrowed by the Christians.
Well, mistletoe is the nameless day, the day of Yule.
It was most likely borrowed by the Christians along with other customs of Roman Saturnalia. Ivy, Holly's mate, in ancient Grecian rites, took its name from the girl who danced with such abandon and joy before Dionysus that she fell dead at his feet. The pagan god, moved by her dance, turned her into the ivy that she might entwine whatever is near. Dionysus, of course, was the Greek version of the god of wine and revelry, another form of Bacchus, Tammuz, or Nimrod, if you will. Mistletoe, since the earliest of times, has been regarded as mysterious and sacred, the symbol of the sun, bestower of life, an aphrodisiac, careful with that because it's also poisonous, and protector against disease and poison. The plant was especially sacred to the Celtic Druids who offered it in prayer to the gods. The mistletoe was referred to by pagans as the
Golden Bough.
Golden Bough. The two great holidays when the pagans gathered mistletoe were Midsummer Day, the summer solstice, and December 25th, the winter solstice. It was supposed to possess the power of revealing treasures in the earth and was formed into a divining rod. Interesting. And as an emanation of the sun's fire. Kissing under the mistletoe is a survival of the Saturnalian sexual licentiousness and bawdy immoral behaviour, which was indeed commonplace during Saturnalia, the time of the Lord
But what about
misrule.
Satan? I mean, Santa.
But what about dear old Santa Claus? Santa Claus? I love learning about this stuff. Sinterklaas. I love
Carol says, I love learning about all this stuff.
Post-biohazard experience. Okay. Even Santa Claus has not such benign origin. This fat and jolly elf can be traced back to another ancient pagan Norse legend, admits the workbook encyclopedia. Even some of Santa Claus's characteristics date back many centuries. For example, the belief that Santa enters the house through the chimney developed from an old Norse legend. The Norse believed that the goddess Hertha appeared in the fireplace and brought good luck to the home. Although most people assume the original Santa Claus was a bishop by the name of St. Nicholas of Asia Minor of the 4th century, this isn't actually true. Although some of this bishop's deeds later came to be associated with St. Nick, the original Nicholas was once again named Nimrod, the mighty one against the Lord. The word Nicholas means mighty one, powerful. Traditions of a god who gave gifts under an evergreen tree antecede the Asian minor bishop by thousands of years. Among the Scandinavians, it was the god Odin or Woden who left special gifts during the Yuletide season under the evergreen tree, his sacred tree. Tony van Rentergem, and that's Dutch, so apologies, Joff. Rentergem? I don't know. Rentergem, perhaps. Writes in when Santa was a shaman.
I love it.
You've read that book?
Yes.
The ancient origins of Santa Claus and the Christmas tree. In newly Christianized areas where the pagan Celtic and Germanic cults remained strong, legend of the god Woden were blended with those of various Christian saints. St. Nicholas was one of those. There were Christian areas where St. Nicholas ruled alone. In other locations, he was assisted by the pagan...
Assisted.
I'm so sorry. Assisted by the pagan dark helper, the slave he had inherited from the pagan god Woden. Krampus, anyone?
Mm.
In other remote areas, ancient pockets of the old religion controlled traditions. Here the Dark Helper ruled alone, sometimes in a most confusing manner, using the cover name of St. Nicholas or Klaus, without in any way changing his threatening Hern-Pan fur-clad appearance. This was the figure later used by the artist Nast as for the model for the early American Santa Claus. Interesting. The Catholic St. Nicholas also had a confusing past, says Van Rentgen. He was a compilation of two separate saints, one from Myra in Asia Minor, the other from Menorah, both of whom were, as the Church nowadays admits, nothing more than Christianized water deities, possibly related to the Greco-Roman god Poseidon or Neptune. In the
1970s.
That's the 1970s. The Second Vatican Council formally stated that no Roman Catholic bishop by the name of Nicholas had ever existed. Vatican II further confessed that the legends attributed to this saint had no Christian origin and probably came from pagan traditions.
We want our books back.
Shock horror. Yeah, I'd like our books back too. Says Van Rentgen further, by absorbing such pagan feasts and traditions, the Christian Church could subtly bring in its own theology. In this case, establishing the good St. Nicholas, bringer of love and gifts, while grudgingly allowing the presence of the old religions, Hern or Pan, but only as a slave to St. Nicholas. Thus, in parts of Europe, the Church turned Hern into St. Nicholas's captive chained dark helper, none other than Satan, the Dark One, symbolic of all evil.
Of course.
Although we should point out that Satan is in fact Lucifer, God's fallen angel, the bringer of light, and is also Uriel, okay, and is also strongly connected with the return of the sun. Anyway, moving along.
The East, Ostara, he has risen.
In Holland and several other European countries, the St. Nicholas figure is still highly esteemed. He appears as a tall, dignified, bearded, white-haired old man dressed as a Catholic priest, complete with cloak, mitre and pastoral staff.
Oh, Coca-Cola ad, anyone?
A seemingly genuine Catholic saint, but with a bizarre, quite unsaintly habit of riding through the skies on a white horse followed by his dark helper. It seems our Catholic saint inherited some of these customs from the pagan god Woden, who had also been dressed as a bearded, white-haired old man, also dressed in a hat and cloak, carried a staff or spear, rode a white horse and dragged along the same dark slave helper on a chain. So much for the old Santa Claus. This mythological feature is also completely pagan to the core. The Dutch Sinterklaas brings gifts to good children, while bad children are harassed by the dark helper, called Zwart Pierre or Black Pete, who brandishes a broom-like rod. Like Santa Claus, Sinterklaas has the habit of entering homes through the chimney. His helper, Black Pete, is today still horned, fur-clad, scary, and less than kind to children. Although portrayed as the slave helper of St. Nicholas, the two are in many villages blended together into one character, who also has the name Nicolaas or Klaus. Thus Santa Claus is blended with and is none other than that, the old enemy of mankind, Satan.
Santa and Satan are
devil.
spelled with the same letters.
Is that right? We're on the right page? In Germany, St. Nicholas's dark helper is a swarthy, horned, frightening little man, also brandishing the besom, or broom. He is known by many names: Knecht Rupert, servant Rupert, or in Bavaria, Pelznickel, meaning fur-clad Nick. In Tyrol, the picture is even clearer. The dark helper is there called Klaubau, a scarier version of the British Hern the Hunter, a chained, furry, black-faced, horned creature. So who was this Odin or Woden, the original Santa Claus? He was the chief god of Norse mythology, a fierce fighter who carried a spear as his special weapon. He was renowned as a mighty hunter and for his magical powers. This same author declares further on the connection between Odin, Woden and Saint Nicholas. Woden, Odin, man's friend, and the mysterious Schimmel rider, dragging his dark and devilish slave Eckhart along on a chain, he rides through the stormy skies. He leads the wild hunt, eluding and finally subjugating the powers of evil. He also wears a broad-brimmed hat, a wide mantle, holds his spear and rides through the skies. Replace his hat with the bishop's mitre and the spear with a crozier, which is the bishop's staff, and we have the Dutch St. Nicholas.
This might predate Christmas.
Just a hair.
Okay.
Just a hair. In other words, Odin was another name for Nimrod, who the Bible says was the mighty hunter before, the Hebrew word for before also means against, the Lord. And that appears in Genesis 10:9 if you want to go back that far. Nimrod's reputation as a mighty hunter was widespread. And it's interesting, the RAF had a seaplane that used to hunt submarines called the Nimrod. So there you go. Anyway, says Alexander Hyssop, the Woden of Odin of Scandinavia can be proved to be the Adon of Babylon. The two Babylons, page 133 and 134, Nimrod, Adon or Adonis of Babylon.
Adonis.
Adonis.
Tomato, potato.
Whatever. I get it wrong all the while. Just blame me. Kick me. Sorry, I'm so wrong. Anyway, moving on now. We have 1 minute 26 seconds left to get some super chats. Throw one in there just for giggles, people, please. That would be lovely. So where are we? Was the great war god. Odin was the same. Nimrod, in the character of Bacchus, was the god of wine. Odin was said to partake of no other food but wine. Sounds like a plan to me.
Hearty wine.
Gonna make life a little more blurry, but who knows?
We're gonna come back around in a bit to this Christmas thing. So
we are. It's all connected, I promise. The name of one of Odin's sons, Balder, indicates the meaning of Odin's own name. Balder is a form of Chaldee Balzea, the seed of Baal, the Hebrew Z or Z. In the later Chaldee frequently became a D. Baal and Adon both signify Lord. Since Balder is the son of Baal as well as son of Adon or Odin, then Baal, Adon and Odin must therefore be the same person. Representative of Nimrod, the first human to be deified and proclaimed by pagans as a god after the deluge. More on the rain later. Moving on, Santa Claus then is not so innocent and cherubic a figure after all. So why do parents take their young children to sit them on Santa's lap?
Because Christ is going to give you presents.
And insist on teaching them Santa Claus myths. The word Santa, rearranged, spells Satan, and Claus is reminiscent to claws. In other words, Satan's claws. Do you want Satan, the arch enemy of mankind, to get his claws into your children? By teaching them Santa Claus myths and taking them to Christmas parties with Santa Claus handing out gifts, you're subtly teaching your children to worship Satan, the devil, the great imposter.
Oh my word.
Are you? I don't think so.
But back to the true origin.
So the true origin of Christmas, right. It is indeed strange that a day never mentioned or sanctioned in the Bible should become the chief so-called Christian holiday of the entire year. Put Christ back into Christmas. Or Christ, the reason for the season.
Axial tilt.
Axial tilt, but never mind. A day never celebrated by Yeshua the Messiah or his apostles, or even in the early New Testament ecclesia of Jehovah God. What is the actual origin of the celebration of December 25th? Well, a careful look at the word Christmas itself ought to tell us something. Notice it's an amalgam, a mixture. Though it includes the name Christ, it also mentions
Mass.
So where did the Mass, with its rituals, elaborate ceremony, pagan prayers for the dead, transubstantiation rites, etc., come from?
Say that again. With its elaborate
ceremony, pagan prayers for the dead,
pagan prayers to rise again,
substantiation rites, etc., come from? Where did it come from? Well, Alexander Hislop, in his remarkable book, The Two Babylons, points out that the Mass is something that definitely goes back to ancient pagan customs and rites. He declares in plain and clear language. Therefore, we find the women of Judah represented as simply burning incense, pouring out drink offering, and offering cakes to the Queen of Heaven, which is Jeremiah 44:19. The cakes were the unbloody sacrifice she required. Yes. Nor do I demand sacrifice, for my love is poured out on all living. Yes, in the 4th century, when the Queen of Heaven, under the name of Mary,
took over
Mother,
from the Mari,
was beginning to be worshipped in the Christian church, this unbloody sacrifice was also brought in. Epiphanes states that the practice of offering and eating it became among women of Arabia, and at that time it was well known to have been adopted from the pagans. The very shape of the unbloody sacrifice of Rome may indicate where it came, or from whence it came. It's a small, thin, round wafer.
The blood in the body.
And on its roundness, the Church of Rome lays so much stress. The importance, however, which Rome attaches to the roundness of the wafer must have a reason. And that reason will be found if we look at the altars of Egypt. The thin, round cake, says Wilkinson, occurs on all altars. Almost every jot or title in the Egyptian worship had a mythical meaning. The round disc, so frequent in sacred emblems of Egypt, simply symbolized the sun.
Okay, a round disc.
The sun! You'll find that in the Two Babylons, pages 159 to 160. The sun god in ancient Egypt was known as Osiris. The round disc of the Egyptian Mass symbolized the sun, and was an offering symbolizing the sun god. He was considered the life and nourishment of the souls of men.
The life and nourishment of the souls of men.
I have to just put in a little digression here, and then I promise we'll come back to our main work. Hot cross buns.
A circle with the cross.
A circle with a cross. What do we suppose that cross means? More on that later, perhaps. So, the Christ Mass, therefore, is nothing more than the celebration of the birth of the Sun God himself, the false Messiah, the false Saviour of the world. And the Mass itself also represents the offering of cakes made to the Queen of Heaven, the mother of the pagan Saviour, the unbloody sacrifice.
My goddess gave birth to your God.
Would it be like leaving out milk and cookies for Santa here?
Round cookies.
Round cookies, interesting. Again, Christmas is proven to be pagan to its core. It is a fact that December 25th was celebrated for thousands of years before the birth of the Messiah as the birthday of the ancient pagan god, the sun god. Alexander Hislop points out the truth in these shocking words, at least they ought to be shocking to anybody with a clear, undefiled and conscious mind. Do you think this person's really Christian who wrote this? I don't know. Indeed, it is admitted by the most learned and candid writers of all parties that the day of our Lord's birth cannot be determined, and that within the Christian Church no such festival as Christmas was ever heard of till the 3rd century, and that not till the 4th century was far in advanced did it gain much observance. How then did the Romanish Church fix on December the 25th as Christmas Day? Why, thus, long before the 4th century and long before the Christian era itself, a festival was celebrated among the heathen. At that precise time of year, and in honour of the birth of the son of the Babylonian Queen of Heaven, it may be fairly presumed that in order to consolidate the heathen and to swell the number of the nominal adherents of Christianity, the same festival was adopted by the Roman Church.
Again, I'm going to say to you that this new moon is happening at that galactic center where the throne of the goddess brings in the energy of the Milky Way. We are at a very interesting pivotal time astronomically.
Astronomical. I got lots of comments to read later. Yeah, absolutely. And understand that the Roman Church is also known as the Roman Catholic Church. And Catholic simply means all-encompassing. Literally, they would assimilate everything like the Borg, which is basically what they did here.
We got 10 pages to go, people.
This is what they did here. So, yeah, to swell the number of nominal adherents to Christianity, the same festival was adopted by the Roman Church, giving it only the name of Christ. This tendency on the part of Christians to meet paganism halfway was very early developed. Upright men strove to stem the tide, but in spite of all their efforts, the apostasy went on till the church, with the exception of a small remnant, was submerged under pagan superstition.
Oh.
Shame. I got nothing against paganism. Believe me. Hislop goes on. That Christmas was originally a pagan festival is beyond all doubt. The time of year and the ceremonies with which it is still celebrated prove its origin. In Egypt, the son of Isis, the very Egyptian title for the Queen of Heaven, was born at this very time, about the time of the winter solstice. The very name by which proves at once its pagan and Babylonian origin. Yule is the Chaldean name for an infant or little child, as in the 25th of December was called by our pagan, Anglo and Saxon ancestors Yule Day or the Child's Day,
The birth
and the
of the
night
child of promise.
that preceded it, Mother Night.
Right? So Christmas Eve is Mother's Night, and Christmas Day is the solstice celebration of the sun.
And this was long, long before it came into contact with Christianity. Christianity wasn't even an idea yet. All right. So anyway, that sufficiently proves its real character. December 25th was observed far and wide among the ancient world, this day being the birthday of the unconquered sun. The Yule log represented the dead stock of the slain Nimrod, arch apostate rebel against the Lord after the flood. Look at Genesis 10:8-10. And the Christmas tree was supposedly Nimrod reborn, the slain god come to life again. In Europe, Saxons offered a boar in sacrifice to the sun to propagate or propitiate the Queen of Heaven on. How do you say that? Propitiate?
Where are you?
Here. Propitiate the Queen. It's not a word I'm familiar with. Educate me, somebody.
In Europe, the Saxons offered a boar in sacrifice to the sun to
propitiate the Queen of Heaven on Christmas Day. Okay. The boar in pagan mythology was supposed to have slain the false pagan Messiah. The boar was also a major article in the Feast of Saturn at Rome. And the boar's head is still a standing dish in England, and at Christmas dinner, says Hislop, there can be no doubt that the pagan festival at the winter solstice, in other words, Christmas,
a lot of pubs named the boar's head,
was held in honour of the birth of Babylonian Messiah. Yes, because in winter in Wales we call the winter solstice Alban Arthur,
the height of the bear.
Yeah, and Alban Heaven,
the height of the boar.
Also the height of the boar. So the boar is strongly associated with heaven or summer land.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on. Christmas was held in honour of the birth of the Babylonian Messiah. The largest pagan religious cult which fostered sun worship in the Greek and Roman worlds on December 25th was the cult of Mithraism. They called it the Nativity of the Sun.
What?
Mithras, the sun god, was supposed to have been born at this time, but so were Osiris, Horus, Tammuz, Hercules, Bacchus, Adonis, Jupiter, and all the pagan messiahs. The fact alone would seem to indicate that all these pagan sun gods and deities trace their roots back to the original sun god of ancient Babylon, Nimrod.
I will point out that Jupiter is in mutual reception with this new moon, and Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, the mother, at Friday's new moon.
What a very appropriate time to be reading this.
You don't say. Do you think somebody plans this?
Is there holy shit, is that where Vonnegut got that? I think so. Anyway, moving on. This popular winter festival became such an established custom that in pagan Rome and Greece, Egypt, and throughout Europe, the period of the winter solstice was a time of great revelry and festivity. In Rome, it became known as Saturnalia, in honour of the god Saturn, the hidden one. Saturn was another name for Nimrod, who, late in his apostasy, went into hiding from Shem, the son of Noah.
Lori, look the word up.
Win or regain the favour of God's spirit or person.
That's
Propitiate.
what
Thank you for looking that up. Thank you.
Propitiate.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love to learn.
That's cool.
Okay. All right. Where are we? Great revelry and festival. In Rome, it became known as Saturnalia, in honour of the god Saturn, the hidden one. Saturn was another name for Nimrod, who in the late apostasy went into hiding from Shem, the son of Noah. The feast of Saturn, Hislop adds, lasted 5 days. Loose reins were given to drunkenness and revelry.
This is the Saturnalia link, yeah?
Slaves had a temporary emancipation and used all manner of freedoms with their masters. This was precisely the way in which, according to Barosius,
the drunken festival of the month of
Festivus of the month Thebath, according to our December, in other words, the festival of Bacchus, was celebrated in Babylon. So writes T.G. Grippen in Christmas and Christmas Lore. Crippen. Sorry.
Christmas lore.
In Christmas lore, Christmas and Christmas lore. Now, in December and the beginning of January, there were several festivals which were intimately associated with the daily life of Roman people. First, from the 17th to the 21st December was Saturnalia, the great Roman holiday. One might call it the Feast of Topsy-Turvydom, where slaves were allowed for a few days to enjoy the semblance of freedom, were waited upon by their masters and chose amongst themselves a mock king to preside over their revels. That would have been the Lord of Misrule. Next, on the 22nd, came Sigillaria, the Feast of Dolls, where a fair was held and dolls and other toys, mostly of earthenware, were given to children. Then on the 25th came Brumalia, otherwise Dies Natalis Invicta Solis,
the day for Sol Invictus,
the birthday of the unconquered sun.
These are all Roman
When
festivities.
the days began to lengthen after the solstice, it was believed to have been instituted by the Emperor Aurelian in honour of Mithras, the Persian sun god.
So these festivals all are born of amalgamating customs of the people that they conquered, by the way.
Indeed. So, clearly, the pagan customs of Christmas had nothing remotely to do with the Messiah or the word of Jehovah the God of Scriptures. Clearly, they had nothing to offer the Church of Jehovah God, as they were the very antithesis of true Christianity. Yet, somehow, this ancient pagan festival wormed its way into the established Christian Church and became its most prominent holiday of the year. What a monstrous mystery! The Catholic Church took the excitement which surrounded the Roman Saturnalia with its excesses, delights, debauchery and wantonness, and called them the celebration of the birth of the Son of Jehovah God, Yeshua. Most people today still think of December 25th as the birthday of Yeshua, even though this is definitely not the case, nor is it even referred to in the Bible.
Christmas time is pagan.
Yes. The pagan bash was transformed by the Catholic Church into the festivities of Christmas in honour of the Madonna and Child. Thus, the pagan Semiramis, which is the Egyptian Isis, and Tammuz, Horus, were transformed by sleight of hand.
All right. In Catholicism, Christmas Eve is the Feast of the Fishes.
The fishes.
Where do the fish come from? The sea. Ma, mer, mother. So even to this day, they are honoring the goddess and the gifts that are birthed from the goddess on Mother's Night.
Propitiate. Yeah, I can do propitiate. I can say that word. But thank you for sounding it out for me.
Okay.
Okay, so to win the favour of a god. Anyway, or to win back the favour of a god. So, by sleight of hand, but the magicians of the Roman Church turned Isis and Horus into Mary and Yeshua. And in this manner, the pagan practices of past centuries became outwardly Christian in name and character. For almost 300 years after the time of Yeshua, the church showed no concern for the date of the Messiah's birth. The apostles and leaders of the New Testament church never bothered to find out when Yeshua was born, as the date wasn't actually important to them. It was not until the 4th century...
They couldn't really prove it, so...
Yeah. Why bother? Nothing to do with us, pagan festival. It was not until the 4th century that the Christmas began to be observed by the Roman Catholic Church, says the Encyclopedia Americana. Christmas, it was, according to many authorities, not celebrated in the first centuries of the Christian Church, as the Christian usage in general was to celebrate the death of a remarkable person rather than their birth. A feast was established in memory of the birth of the Saviour in the 4th century, and in the 5th century the Western Church ordered it to be observed forever on the day of the old Roman feast of the birth of Sol. And that is how an ancient pagan custom became engrafted upon the unsuspecting Christian world. But should true followers of Yeshua the Messiah participate?
Yeshua?
Or
Jesus.
Yeshua?
Just call him...
Jesus!
Insert the word Jesus there so
Jesus!
you don't tangle your tongue up.
Jesus H. Yeah, the Messiah precipitate in ancient pagan customs. Should true Christians celebrate Christmas? Well, are you Christian?
Christmas time is pagan.
The Puritans, who were Christians attempting to reform the church during the 1600s, did not believe Christmas should be observed. Oh well. The baptism of pagan rites and festivals by the Roman Catholic and vast majority of Protestant churches was totally rejected by the Puritans. I read a great book by George Bernard Shaw called The Devil's Disciple. I'd strongly recommend it. I would strongly recommend it. One of them, William Pagan, during the time of King Charles I. Now, he was an interesting
Bonnie
fella.
King Charles.
Oh, he loved witches. Wrote, our Christmas lords of misrule, together with dancing, masks, mummeries, stage players, and other such Christmas disorders, now in use with Christians, were derived from these Roman Saturnalian and Bacchanalian festivals, which should cause all pious Christians eternally to abominate them. It's in the Book of Christmas Folklore, page 8. Anyway, excuse me, my nose is just... If you want to continue a second while I just...
All right.
Unblock
Because of
my
his
snozzle.
attitude towards Christmas and pagan rituals still observed by the professing Christian church,
I'm so sorry.
William Prine was placed in a pillory and his ears were cut off.
Wasn't that nice? How
Should
kind.
Christians observe Christmas? Should Christians today celebrate this ancient festival? Many today may think that it's all right, but the opinions of men are not our standard or authority. What does the word of Jesus, God itself, say about this? It's very serious. It is all right in the sight of Jesus for men to take pagan customs and traditions and observe them, calling them Christian. It is all right to merge and combine pagan practices with the truth of Jesus?
Is it? It's a question. Is it all right?
Is it all right?
Is it all right? Well, according to the prophet Malachi, Jehovah does not change. His laws and commandments are eternal. How nice. Doesn't matter if you're wrong. We're not going to change it. Does Jehovah say it's all right to observe the traditions and customs of pagans? Jehovah God commanded ancient Israel, I am the Lord your God. You must not do as they do in Egypt, where you used to live, and you must do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you to. Do not follow their practices. You must obey my laws and be careful to follow my decrees. That's Leviticus. That's not a
That's
good book.
quite a book, Leviticus.
It's also the bit where it
She
says,
said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
If
Well,
the smell of your neighbour's burning offering offends you, you can stone him to death. Nice, good book,
okay,
Leviticus.
anyhow, go ahead.
Anyway, moving on. Jehovah tells us he hates idolatry. He detests it with a vehement passion. and tells us, be careful not to be ensnared by inquiring about their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? We will do the same. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way, because in worshipping their gods they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord hates. Deuteronomy, also
Another
lovely book.
interesting chapter.
Anyway, because of pagan idolatrous practices, Jehovah God cast the Canaanites out of the promised land. Oh dear. They were worshippers of Baal or Nimrod, Tammuz the sun god, the pagan messiah, the god of wine and revelry. They worshipped the evergreen tree and used it as symbol of their god. They observed December 25th in the worship of the waning sun and their sun god divinity. This whole religious system, excuse me, sorry,
God,
make my tongue work, stemmed from ancient Babylon, the fount of all heresy and apostasy. Oh, I love this person. They're not opinionated at all. I would love to have an intellectual communication with them, if they're capable of it. Their sensuality and gross lasciviousness, and particularly displayed during midwinter festival called Saturnalia in Rome, with gift-giving drunkenness, sexual licentiousness. Jehovah says of such bacchanal rites, do not defile yourself in any of these ways, because this is how the nations that I'm going to drive out before you became defiled. Even the land was defiled, so I punished it for its sin, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. Anyone who does any of these detestable things, such persons must be cut off from their people. Keep my requirements. Do not follow any of the detestable customs that were practiced before you came, and do not defile yourselves with them. I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 18:24. Good book, should read it well. Even such idolatrous terms as Christmas tree are condemned in the word of Jehovah God, Jeremiah the prophet. Hear ye the word the Lord has spoken unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord. Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them, such as the waning sun at the winter solstice. For the customs of the people are vain, meaning empty, worthless, useless. Are they really? For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers, that it move not.
Nailed to a tree.
They are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. Their needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good.
Jeremiah 10.
Lovely. Truly the whole world has been deceived by Satan the devil. Do you even know who that is, mate? Just saying. And his clever masquerades and machinations.
Revelations 12.
Jehovah God Almighty thunders, wherefore say unto the house of Israel, saith thus the Lord God, are ye polluted after the manner of your fathers, and commit ye whoredom after the manner of their abominations? Ye pollute yourselves with all your idols, even unto this day. But as for you, O house of Israel, saith the Lord God, go ye, serve ye every one of his idols, and hereafter also, if ye not hearken unto me, but pollute ye my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols.
Ezekiel 20.
The very name Christmas, combining the holy name of Christ with the pagan mass, pollutes and profanes Jehovah's holy name. The celebration of these ancient pagan festivals, calling them Christian, is an abomination in the sight of Jehovah. Jehovah will not accept such pagan superstitious worship. Jesus, whatever,
The Messiah.
said to his disciples, if you hold my teaching, you are really my disciples, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Didn't they pin that over a work camp in Auschwitz?
Free from the shackles of error,
Superstition, mythology, and pagan deception.
John 8.
Yeah.
Christmas is pagan. There's no doubt about it. The question is,
what are you going to do about it?
May Jesus, the God, help you to make the right decisions so you can inherit eternal life and reign with the saints forever. Revelations 2:5.
Well,
Edited by John.
John D. Kaiser, up your arse.
Hey!
Mate. That's all I want to say.
So,
Up your chuffing arse.
there you are. That is the workshop portion of Witchy Wednesday for this lovely solstice new moon week.